Well, good morning and welcome to the Snug Harbor Morning Reflection as we continue looking at step 3. I'm glad you're with us this morning. My name is Shane Thompson. I'm one of the chaplains here. And if I haven't had the chance to meet you, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're settling in fine and I welcome you. These morning reflections are meant to be a spiritual look at one of the 12 steps. This is not my time to preach to you, to shove my religion down your throat. We look on a broad sense at the 12 steps from a spiritual perspective. That being said, any reference to God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, Lord, whatever it may be, is all in relation to how you see your higher power. As we open this morning, let's start with our serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. As we open this morning, let's listen to our song of reflection as we clear our hearts and minds and prepare for the day ahead. Our song this morning, My Lighthouse, is a beautiful reminder that Snug Harbor stands to be a light in the darkness, to guide those struggling with addiction safely through to recovery. Would you watch with me?
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are my light, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness. I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You
So as we continue looking at our 12 steps, we're still on step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And back in step 1, we looked at the similarity between step 1, that we admitted that we were powerless over drugs and or alcohol and their lives had become unmanageable, and the first noble truth of Buddhism, which is life is suffering. In step 3, we look at the similarities between step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him, and the third noble truth of Buddhism, which is the cessation of suffering. So I want you to sit back, close your eyes, don't go to sleep, and listen. I want you to begin today by considering the similarities between the third step of our 12-step program and the third noble truth. In step 3, we make a conscious decision to change the direction of our lives by giving up control. Until this point, we had been the director of our lives. We decided what we did, who we associated with, where we worked, and many, many other things. Our self-will was the driving force in our lives. And yet our self-will did nothing to ensure the manageability of our life. In fact, we have realized and surrendered to the fact that our lives were unmanageable. Our self-will had run riot. We were out of control because it had gotten out of control. We believed that we were directing our will toward the care of our lives, ourselves, but instead we had given up control and allowed our self-will to take over. This negative surrender and unhealthy letting go of our control has resulted in the progression of our addictions. It has caused wreckage. It has brought us to our knees. In step 3, we have surrendered to these facts by admitting that we were powerless and out of control, that we are unable to fix it ourselves. Instead, something more powerful than our will needs to intervene on our behalf. Something needs to set us on the right course toward healing and health. And yet it's here that we begin to struggle. We desperately want our suffering to end, but we struggle against the idea of a power greater than ourselves. We believed we were in control until we were painfully shown the opposite. We may feel that we cannot trust this power greater than us to be a god, a being, magical, mystical, or otherworldly. After all, whatever we believed in was in control of this universe before had failed to get us sober, had disappointed us, and had abandoned us. We were unable to trust that there was something bigger than our will. And we've been told for so long that we just had no discipline. In the third noble truth, the Buddha shows us that suffering will end. And in the third step of our 12-step program, it shows us how this can happen. However, we must make a decision. This is a turning point. We have to be open, honest, and most importantly, willing to see a power greater than ourselves. Seeing a power greater than ourselves, a God of our own understanding at work in our lives, it may come easily to you. or it may be quite difficult. Regardless of that, as you sit there this morning, I want you to bring to mind a recent coincidence or situation that worked out in your life. Something that just, the pieces came together and it worked out. I want you to look at the pieces of that situation that had to come together for that to work out in your favor. Trace this event back to its root and then follow it through all the way to completion. And as you do this, ask yourself, what happened? What did you want to happen? What did you do to direct the situation for the outcome you desired? Did you force your will on the situation? Did you feel in control or out of control? Did things turn out the way you had hoped? Was the outcome better or worse than expected? Look at the path the situation took and connect the dots between the parts of what happened. Can you see the connections between things? Did you create those connections? Or were you merely in the right place at the right time? Introduced to someone out of the blue who made a positive difference in the situation. When we have these experiences and don't know how they will end up, we tend to plan or picture things going a certain way. Because we're human beings living a spiritual experience, they almost never work out the way we planned. Instead, things being beyond our control align and bring people, places, and things into our life that affect that situation. Sometimes we think these things work out well, and sometimes we do not. However, they always end up the way they do because there is a power greater than ourselves at work. If you think of all of the time these things happen to you, things that you did not force your will on that just seem to work out in your favor, we begin to see that we really did not control as much as we have wanted to, or as much as we thought we did. Regardless of whether we acknowledge a power greater than ourselves, that power is always at work. At work in the universe and at work in our lives. What you choose to call that power, whether it's God or Allah or Jesus or Buddha or the name of any other religious figure we have belief in, that's up to you. Step 3 is making a decision to turn our will and our lives over to that higher power. The third step and the third noble truth invite us to let go of our will, to take our hands off the wheel and acknowledge this power and to begin to connect more regularly with it. It's through this that suffering begins to cease. So it's about, do you want your suffering to cease? Many of us live through our lives and we tolerate the suffering. And we are not meant to live that way. This morning, I invite you to reflect on if you're ready to have your suffering cease. And if the answer is yes, then we need to connect with the higher power that you identify with. To break away from the old and connect to the new. as you reflect on that this morning, listen to this song entitled Breakaway.
Do whatever it takes, whatever you need to make a change, to see a new day. Yeah. Leave it all behind, every lie and substitute, the peace and love, these things you long for more of. So get desperate, get hungry, get tired of, get angry, and break away. Break away. Say goodbye to yesterday. Swing the hammer across the chains and break away. Break away, get away. That's why he came and wore the crown, took the pain all to pay the price for freedom. Yeah, so you could have life, real hope, and a future, not just now, but forever. Get desperate, get hungry, get tired of, get angry, yeah, and break away. Break away. Say goodbye to yesterday. Swing the hammer, crush the chains, and break away. Tired of the same thing, tired of the same game, tired of the drab and the mundane, tired of needless pain and the selfish gains and the sin stains, tired of insane, tired of the shame, having it my way, ready for change, I'm ready to sing. Dance in the rain, I have a new name, I have been washed clean. It's time to break away. Oh, break away. Say goodbye to yesterday. Swing the hammer and crush the chains and break away. Break away. Say goodbye to yesterday. Swing the hammer, crush the chains and break away. Break away. Say goodbye to yesterday. Swing the hammer, crush the chains and break away.
Are you ready to break away from the pain? Break away from the past and to begin to walk a new life of recovery. Your higher power is there to help you. Would you join me in our serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Guys, I hope you have a great day. Keep working the steps. Keep focusing and working to connect deeper with your higher power. As always, you're in my thoughts and prayers every day. God bless you all, and I'll see you soon.